I took a whole bag of Mario Kart Wii with me to the Oklahoma Gaming Frenzy, and I went around to a bunch of different vendors and said, "Hey, I'm looking to trade this. What will you trade me for?" And I let them pick what game, and we found some crazy stuff. So come with me. The first stop I had to do was the Arkansas Picker. We did the deal last year when we did Super Mario World, so I figured this was a great place to start. So I gave him the game, and then he started looking around at his booth to try to see what we could trade for. And honestly, this trade ended up being absolutely well worth it because he ended up trading me Darksiders War Mastered Edition for the PlayStation 4. And he basically explained this to me as like a God of War, but with Christianity as the kind of fuel to it. And I absolutely love the God of War series, and I've dabbled with Darksiders, but I haven't played more than like 10 minutes of it, so bear with me there. This game looks like it's going to be a ton of fun, and this was a great way to start this off. I think I'm definitely going to have a ton of fun playing this game, and I'm going to have to play it pretty soon because I want to play this. It's one of those games that's on my list now, but that's not all we're trading for, so let's keep going. So I went to the vendor that was right next to him, and I've traded with him before as well, so this ended up being perfect. I showed him all of the games that I had and showed him the one he was going to trade for. And so he kind of started looking around at his booth in search of video games that he wanted to trade me. And he had a bunch. We kind of went back and forth, and he was trying to get me to tell him what I wanted. And honestly, I want to leave it up to the vendor. And that's when he grabbed this funny, ridiculous GameCube game called Jim Henson's Muppet Party Cruise for the GameCube. I don't have this, but I definitely think this was well worth trading. And anytime I can add a GameCube game to my collection, you know I'm going to be happy about this. And this looks like it's going to be one of those weird and wacky GameCube games, but I'm going to play it probably and have some fun. So this is a little bit of a weirder one. And I told him I was looking for GameCube games. So he kind of gravitated to that section. And I told him I didn't have this one, so we ended up trading for it, which was pretty cool. I'm glad to take a game that I find all the time, being Mario Kart Wii, and pick up a GameCube game that I've never seen before and that I don't have in my collection. So that's definitely awesome. And then I made my way to this next vendor. We've done trades before, so I figured this was a perfect time to bring my bag to him filled with Mario Kart Wii and see if he wanted to trade for anything. And we were kind of going through a little bit here and there trying to find the best copy for him. And we ended up finding a good copy. The disc looks good. He was checking everything out, and everything was good there. So he said, "All right, cool. What do you want to trade for it?" And again, I said, "Let's let you pick." So I let him pick. He said, "We're not going to do Nintendo 64 since last time we did that." And I was like, "All right, that's perfectly fine with me." So we kind of wandered around his booth and made our way over to the PlayStation 2 section, where we ended up finding something that was well worth it. And that ended up being a really, really, really nice copy of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, which was an awesome game. I think this might even be cleaner than the copy of that I have in my collection. So, of course, I was happy to pick this up. This is one of those games that if you've got a PlayStation 2 and you've never played it, you definitely have to, because it's just so much fun. It's one of those amazing games on the system. Obviously, it's a big one. Sly Cooper is amazing, but I literally had so much fun with this game. So picking this up and trading Mario Kart Wii for this, to me, is definitely worth it. The PlayStation 2 is an amazing era, and this game is just one that I have to say you have to have if you don't already. Also, this copy is so clean. It's probably going to replace my copy that I have in my collection. So definitely well worth it. But we've got more to trade. So then I made my way back up to the front of the game convention to Eric's booth, who actually is the one who puts on the Oklahoma Gaming Frenzy. He's an awesome dude, and so I was like, okay, we got to make this trade. So I went back up there with him. I had a few games left here, so we did the same thing as the last booth, kind of tried to find the best copy we could here. And once we did, Eric started looking around and was like, okay, do you want new, retro? What do you want here? And I said, whatever you want to pick. I've got Mario Kart Wii to trade. You decide on the other side. So after a little bit of wandering, he ended up in the Switch section, and that is where he ended up grabbing Stranded Deep for the Nintendo Switch, which is definitely awesome. This actually looks like a game that I'll enjoy. It looks weird, it looks wacky, but you guys know these are the type of games that I enjoy playing. So when he pulled this out, I was like, this is perfect. I will enjoy this so much. So I think it's a little bit of a weird trade, and a lot of people might not like this for Mario Kart Wii, but you know, I had a bunch of copies, and a game that I don't have on the Switch, which is pretty hard to find. Uh, Games that I don't have on my Switch, that is. This is definitely well worth it, and I can't wait to play this and see how it is and if it's fun or not. It looks absolutely wild and kind of gives me like Rust vibes, but I'm just gonna have to try this out and see if it's worth it. But we got to continue on. I've got more games in my backpack. And that is when I headed over to the Gaming Horde booth with Justin here and was like, hey, you know how we do this? I've got a bag full of games. What are you looking to trade for? And he was like, oh, okay, Mario Kart Wii. Again, we did the same thing, kind of looked for the best copy. I found a good copy that he was happy with here. So then we started looking around, and he always is like, okay, what do you want to trade for? And he loves it when I say, you got to pick. So this is just perfect. He went over to his shelves after kind of checking it out and seeing what it was worth. He went over to his shelves to try to see what he could find, what he thought was worth it, and all that. He was kind of blocked off here, but he found something that was well worth picking up. And I knew by the smile on his face that he was giving me a crazy deal. And that ended up being Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Game Gear, complete in the box. This is a game that I have, but I do not have it sealed. So trading for this is definitely well worth it. I'm so glad we did, because this is a game that is a fun game on the Game Gear. If you don't have it, you need to play it. It's a cheap game if you get it loose, but having it sealed in the box is pretty cool. I'm going to put it up somewhere on my shelves to show it off because I love this thing, but this is so cool. I almost never see Sega Game Gear games in my area, let alone games that are boxed and sealed. So being able to trade Mario Kart Wii for this is definitely well worth it. I feel like some people wouldn't want to trade for this, but for this kind of video, I think this is perfect. It's a weird, a wacky game that people aren't expecting, so I'm glad to have gotten this. That leads me to the most generous vendor ever, and honestly, every time we get together, he's always amazing, so I'm gonna have to repay him next time I see him for this. But I took him the bag. You know how this goes. I've got Mario Kart Wii in my bag. What would you like to trade for it? And so he was like, all right, cool. So he started looking around his booth, and I wasn't quite sure what he was thinking. And then he had that look on his face that he definitely had something in mind. And he kind of gave me a smirk. And that's when he said, well, what do you think about a PlayStation 1 console? Last time we did this trade, he traded me an NES console that he was like, I have to go home. I'm far from my house. This is kind of a pain to lug around. So we made that trade. And then he did a trade for this. It was just absolutely insane. So I ended up with a fat PlayStation 1 console here with an AV cord, the power cord, and a controller for this thing, which is just insane to me. I think there's actually even a game inside of it too, just like a loose disc. So I thanked him so much for this, but I'm gonna have to repay him soon, and I think I'm gonna see him at the at the Arkansas Retro Expo. I'm getting my names confused, but I'm gonna see him there. I think I'm gonna do something for him there. But this ended up being a wild trade. He had this at $55, and if you open it up, there is Test Drive 4 in it, which is ridiculous. And so traded for a PlayStation 1 here. This is the one that has the serial in and out and the AV multi-out. This is awesome. He was happy to get rid of it because, again, this takes up a lot more room in his stuff to go home and to load up. So he was like, hey, this is a good deal for me. Mario Kart will sell pretty quickly. So we both kind of benefited from this. He benefited by getting a game that he'll sell quicker, and I benefited by getting a PlayStation 1 in really good condition and all that. So this ended up being what I think might have been the craziest trade, because trading one game for a console to me is just wild. He definitely hooks it up, and I've got a plan to get him back, and by that I mean give him something. So make sure you're following and subscribing, because in the next video where I go to that expo, you'll see that. But we've got to keep going. By this time my backpack was pretty empty and I only had one game left, and that's when I went to the Yester Play collectibles booth. This is a local game store that I love to support as well, so I figured this is a great way to stop because I was out of games. I gave him the game. He kind of wandered around here looking. He said, what do you want to trade for? And I said, whatever you pick is perfectly fine for me. And that is when he grabbed new Super Mario Bros. Wii complete in the box for the Wii. This is an amazing game. If you don't know, you should know by now that this game is definitely well worth picking up and well worth playing. I absolutely love this game, and so to trade Mario Kart for this is just, I feel like it's perfect because both of these games are so amazing. And games, if you've got a Wii and you want to like have a collection and save some money and not spend too much, this is a game you've got to have in your Wii collection. It's amazing. It's only worth like 25 bucks, so it's not too expensive and a ton of fun, and you'll definitely enjoy it. I'm just glad that we ended up making this deal because this was definitely worth trading for. So there you had it. I had a backpack full of Mario Kart Wii games that I had picked up over time, and now I have a bunch of other awesome stuff that I probably wouldn't have picked up and traded for, but that's not a bad thing to me. These are all things that are definitely well worth it, and I'm glad that I have them. I'm definitely not trading any of this stuff. All the stuff from this video will be kept, will go on these shelves. These trading videos are so much fun to kind of go to a vendor, support them, trade for some pretty good stuff, and make them happy, have some fun in the process. And overall, I enjoy making these videos, so I'm thinking I might try to do this here for the Arkansas Retro Expo as well, so stick around for that. But I'm really happy with all these games. There's a few games I've got to add to my playlist, especially Darksiders and that Stranded Deep game. I think both of those games are going to be a ton of fun to play. But overall, I'm really happy with these trades. All the vendors were really happy. I've traded with most of those people before, and so I felt like this was a perfect time for both of us to be happy. And so I'm definitely glad about that. But you know what time it is. It's time to get out of here because I've got some other planned stuff that I got to work out. So check that video out if you haven't already. But I think probably my favorite trade has to be for the PlayStation 1. That vendor is so generous, but there's still some other amazing stuff here as well. And I'm definitely loving it. So comment down below and let me know what you think was the best trade. But I'm getting out of here, so check out that video out if you haven't already.